Brother, here we are on Ask Mike, ready to wrap up the multi-episode Marching Band Academy. You got one more in you?
I do, and I tell you what, anyone who's gone through all eight, I will. I'll have to accredit them for 3 semester hours or something. I don't know. We'll have to have some kind of document.
So continuing education?
Yeah, I say let's do it. I mean, I made up all my professional development forms at Wiley. My principals didn't know that, but I did. I made them on my computer.
You and your quiet parts out loud.
That's right. And they didn't care. They didn't care.
All right, man. Well, where are we headed today?
Well, today we're talking about body movement technique, and we've discussed all the realm of what we do when we march.
Right.
You know, kind of a traditional stance of how we do attention, horn positions, all that. Very important. But now, and we've even talked about flutter step and kind of delved a little bit into kind of expanding our repertoire of body movement.
Right.
And so today we're going to talk about more like choreo, how we do things to give visual effect to the show, how we teach it, how we introduce it, things of that nature. So that's kind of where we're headed today, my friend.
Cool. Well, lead on. So
All right.
What you're saying to me is just because you're moving doesn't mean you're doing it with the right technique.
Yes. And it's kind of like everything in life. If you haven't experienced that learning curve, it's frightening as a director,
right?
And it's frightening as students. And then we make a lot of mistakes on the process because we're just learning, and that's understandable.
Right.
But we've got to try to get over that bump as quickly as we can, where, you know, the kids feel like the directors and staff know what's going on.
Sure. Okay. Well, to me, it sounds like the directors and staff better know what's going on.
Yeah, and that's hard because we all know how limited our time is, and we're just like, we got to get sets on the field, man. We got to learn the national anthem before Friday.
We were just talking about this. Is all those, actually, to borrow from the Bible, the little foxes that spoil the vine, all these little things that nip at our time and take away from the things that we consider the big picture or the big things that we've got to get done. It just eats away and eats away. So I get it. So it's better if we, I just think it's great that you're taking time to say, hey, think about this now before it gets into the middle of the too late. So, cool.
And I tell you what, Derek, there's two main, I don't know if I call them concerns, points to make. Now, I sound like a Baptist minister. I've got three things. No, I've got three.
You kids in the back, straighten up.
That's right. Quit passing notes. No, that's my, now they just text and they just stare forward. But 2 items to be concerned with. One is the understanding that when we march in a traditional style, and whether you call that military marching or core style or flex toe or whatever, it's because we can separate completely what we're doing with our upper body from our lower body. I don't know if everyone would agree with that, but it's like from the waist down, we are a marching machine. From the waist up, we're a musician.
Right. I think I've heard you say that before.
Yeah. And I think that's a very important thing to establish. What makes it really hard when we get into choreography and more sophisticated body movement is we completely ignore that fact. And now the upper and lower body have to move as one.
Right. And are you saying that's by design, that's what it should be? You have to?
It has to.
Yeah.
It has to. The way I try to explain it to directors, it's like, have you ever, and I know I'm probably guilty of this when I talk to somebody and they say something to you and they say something to you and they smile, but you know they're not really smiling because their eyes aren't smiling, just their teeth are smiling.
I feel attacked.
Do you know what I'm talking about? You know, we do that. we do that weird look. Now you guys have to look at the YouTube to see Mike Lunney look really stupid. But choreo is the same way. Sometimes the kids will do it, but then it's obvious because their upper body's not as much involved in the process as their lower body, and it's kind of like smiling. And you can tell by looking at their eyes that their eyes are not smiling.
Right.
Their forehead is not smiling; just their teeth are showing.
Well, to harken back to something, is this back to our fluidity?
Fluidity and stamina.
So many times, I mean, you see them try to do some kind of graceful movement, and whoop,
Yeah. Yeah. They just kind of fling that hand out there or whatever.
Right.
And the second item to that is once we kind of at least accept that it has to be our whole body involved, is the kids don't have the strength to do the things we're asking them to do. And so I would say for most groups I go and look at and work with, especially in the smaller school classifications, the smaller groupings, they do a lot of stretching. They do a lot of running. Maybe they might run down to the goalpost and back. They do arm circles. They do toe touches. They do all this stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it does take up time. But I would like to present this idea that for most of our drill, we're not going to pull a muscle.
Okay.
I mean,
I'll go with that. Right.
we are not the Boston Crusaders. We are not moving at 170 beats a minute, moving backwards while we're playing 16th notes on our instruments.
Right.
Now, that's probably, now your band might be doing that out there. And if they are, then you do need to do all that stretching. I would say I try to convince them to do more things like practice when they march without equipment, to use what I like to call the power triangle. If they don't have their horns, instead of having one hand up and the other hand lapped over it in a triangle in front of their body, put the fingertips together and then put the tips of the thumb together and look through that triangle and get that up in the proper level where the thumbnails are like even with the tip of your nose if you drew a line straight out, because that does a really important thing, Derek. It makes you use your core muscle to balance.
Well, let's do something for the people that are visually watching this.
Yeah.
Can you demonstrate what you're talking about? That's what you want, as opposed to, yeah.
And we do it this way, you hang on. And a really good life lesson on this. I go to Planet Fitness, and I call us the Gray Brigade.
The Gray Brigade.
There's about 20 of us old retired guys that show up about 9:30, and we're all probably in our 60s, 70s, some in their 80s, and some of them can put me to shame. But I have a good friend. His name's Danny, and such a good friend. I don't know his last name. Okay? And he doesn't know mine either. He's Danny, the retired preacher. I'm Mike, the retired band director. And we were on the treadmills next to each other, and he started slapping my hands because I kept holding on to the treadmill.
Right.
And he said, "You're not developing any core strength. You've got to let go of that." So finally got some paper towels, tore them up and stuck them in my hands. I said, "Now hold these in your fist. Now you won't touch the treadmill anymore." And it worked. And it made it, and it was amazing. My heart rate went up about 15 beats a minute, because I was using and my balance was better. And I said, "Well, I do it for balance." And he goes, "Bull." He goes, "You've been walking since you were 2 years old. It's been 60 years, Mike." Right. Said, "Have you fallen over from lack of balance other than drinking?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And he goes, "Well, then that's bull."
Right.
He said, "You can balance." And then so I know that's kind of a long, extended, but it's a life lesson to learn that we've got to use muscle groups. Have the kids do that. If you have a practice field where it's okay to get on the ground, it's not 110-degree asphalt. Have the kids do planks for like 20 seconds. For 20 seconds is all. Do a few little yoga moves. Do a slow, like they stand at attention and then bring up. You remember the old school where you brought your foot up the side of your leg to where you did like the chair lift, and then your arch of your foot was against the kneecap of the inside of the other knee. Do that in 4 slow counts. Hold for 4. Rotate the knee out 4 counts. Hold for 4. Rotate the knee back. Hold for 4. Then 4 slow counts going down. And then do the other leg. And that it doesn't take long to do. And once the kids get good at it, you can do a F Remington, you can do concert B flat scale, you can do lip slurs, you can do all kinds of stuff with it. But just something that simple, those 3 items, they will build up the strength, because I see so many groups that they teach them the choreo, which is amazing. They've gotten the choreo. Excuse me there. And they've got everything figured out, but then it's the kids just don't have the physical strength to do it. And you can tell they're working like crazy. They're wanting to do it, Derek, and they just can't get that foot out to the side without their upper body kind of going at a weird angle, or, things are happening and they just can't control what they're doing with their bodies. And it's not a like, let's lift weights kind of strength.
Right.
It's just a muscular kind of balance kind of thing, just teaching them how to balance.
Here's my very layman terminology thing that I'm going to say to you. They say when you get up in the morning, if you'll just drink 8 ounces of water, that actually gets your organs kind of woken up, and it helps them get going. It's the same thing. You don't have to do major things. Just remind your core muscles that they're getting ready to get used. And so lift the legs, as you say, do the small things. It's just kind of a reminder, wake up, warm up, so that it doesn't shock them the first time you have to go do an actual move.
Yes. And one more little exercise to kind of throw out to the guys and gals out there. I really like doing start with left foot and then same slow tempo. Put your left tendu, some call just toe point. Do, your foot's out in front of you, but don't let it touch the deck. The 4 counts out, let it float just an inch above the ground for 4 counts, bring it back in, then push it out to the side, hold for 4 counts, then pull it back in. Then this is really important, Derek. Repeat everything you're doing with the left leg, do it with the right leg.
Right.
So we're
got to do both sides. Right.
Got to do both sides. And I've done enough of this now that I can tell by watching a student do choreo if they're left-handed or right-handed.
Okay.
Because they have a dominant side to their body. And it's like they're not doing that lunge to the left with the fluid motion that I need done. And I'll say, going to the right. And I'll say, are you left-handed? Yeah, I am. I shoot left-handed and I throw left-handed. I write left-handed. Well, yeah, you need to concentrate on getting the right side of your body stronger. Your right leg is, and they can even take time to measure their thigh and calves, and they'll realize one leg, almost everybody, one leg's bigger than the other leg.
Right.
And so we've got to address that. And it's not that we have to go this full blown, I don't know, Richard Simmons, Jane Fonda, cross.
Not the people I would have picked out.
I mean, sweating to the oldies. We don't need to spend 60 minutes doing aerobics and stretching and doing planks. But, 5 minutes would not kill us, and maybe if I was in the full process again as a band director, I would kind of throw some of that on my section leaders and say, hey, can you kind of meet your section maybe 5 minutes before we're supposed to start? And not everyone's going to show. Right. But enough will show that they'll get stronger. And the ones who aren't showing 5 minutes early will start to realize that they're kind of lagging a little bit, and maybe they will kind of jump up to it. And some kids, we all know this, some kids are natural athletes.
Yep.
They just have that physical ability to do things. And then you'll have kids. I had kids in my Wiley band that were ballerinas in Swan Lake every Christmas, and they were just amazing dancers. So this was like child's play to them. This was like asking a person working on their master's in music performance to play their concert B-flat scale. And so I would use those kids to go, hey, can you kind of work this section over here and tell them what you want to do, what you want them to look like?
But the other thing I've noticed that this does is the kids that do show up and do the extra and do the teamwork aspect of it, they kind of develop this camaraderie that the people that aren't showing up start to notice. You guys are all really tight. You almost, you know what I mean? It's almost a positive peer pressure that I'm not doing all y'all are doing. Y'all are having a lot of fun and y'all trust each other. And you know what I mean? There's almost an insider thing that happens when everybody shows up and does it. I don't know if I explained that well, but
you did. You're exactly right. I'd always tell my section leaders, don't make a big deal about the ones who don't show up for your little extra thing, because I kind of relate to them what you just said they're going to realize that y'all are kind of having, in a weird sort of way, kind of fun.
Right.
You're kind of bonding as a baritone section, and then they're the fear of missing out.
But that's the thing that you realize as you get closer to the goal or as to the finals, that you have worked together, you have sweat together, you have sacrificed for, not to be dramatic, together.
Yeah.
And it's how you can count on each other. I mean, it's just kind of a human psyche thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There is no doubt about it. And I try to convince, we've got some folks out there, and I understand this and respect it completely, that don't want to go this route.
Sure.
They just don't want to. And I respect that 100%. If you want to march just a good old traditional show and just never do anything but a couple of horn pops, and you can make your first division and you can have a great sounding band. If that's what your vision is for your program, that's perfectly fine.
It's all you. Good. Yeah.
But you're not going to compete at area.
Right.
You just have to accept that fact, and it's in today's climate as judging's going to more and more judges. I mean, even 4A now is going to have 7 judges at area.
Right.
And 7 at state. And so it's coming. It's coming.
Right.
And that's a big part. Now you have 2, they don't even call them, we called them marching judges at one time. And then now they're visual content judges.
Right.
That says a lot right there as far as what's being expected of them. And they're being hired for those positions, not because they're the best band director in the world per se,
right.
but their strength is visual design and visual context. And that's different than the best brass player out there or the best woodwind player. So and I always like to tell them this, I think it always makes an impact, said, you know what? I don't agree with property tax either.
But I'm not exempt.
I don't believe in income tax.
Right.
That government comes and rips 20% of my income away. I don't agree with that.
Right.
But it doesn't matter because they're going to do it anyway. And UIL, BOA, whatever, Bands of America, that's going to be what's going to happen. They're going to rip away your 20% of points, and you just have to either do it or don't do it, but accept the consequences. And if you're comfortable with that, that's awesome. I mean, I grew up in a world where we made our first division and someone's mom made a cake and we ate it the next day and we were done with all competitive marching.
Right.
That was it. And
I remember. Yeah.
There's some beauty in that, actually. There's some real beauty in that. So you guys and gals out there, make your decision, stick to your decision, and don't let me change you. You stick to your decision. So I'm mainly concerned with the ones who are wanting to float over into this, and maybe some who have already done it, maybe give them some ideas of what to do.
Sure.
Okay.
I think that's a fantastic way to put that. You do you. Stay in your lane.
Yeah.
That's what you choose to do. But for those of you who want to, here we are.
Here we are. Okay. Another really important item is it's kind of like eating a steak. You'd have to do it one bite at a time. And I know directors who say, hey, yeah, we're going to do body movement and choreo this year. And then they'll have like 16 different body movements in their show. And it's more than the kids can handle. I know this is, I'm really old and there's a lot of gray in these monitors as we're watching each other for this video. But, I remember we did Here Comes That Rainy Day, followed by Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Beautiful medley. And Lee Carlson, who's now in charge of the judging staffs at DCI, was our visual person.
Okay.
And he said, okay, after we finish this particular drum solo, we're going to all turn back field and raise our right hand in a cupped position. And we're going to stare up at the clouds like we're looking for rain. That was the first visual I'd ever seen in my life. That was 1981. Okay. And the judges went berserk. The marching judges, we're still under the old tick system where they just counted mistakes. They were complaining in the critiques. How do we judge that? There's nothing to judge.
What are you guys doing?
What are you doing? So he was pulling his winter guard stuff because he was a really strong winter guard advocate, and he was from Big Spring. And so he said, no, we're just trying to add a little something to the show, and said, just ignore it if you don't want to judge it. Just ignore it. And I remember looking back at that, and it was really kind of cool to think we started with that one tiny move. You know what I mean? And then of course other corps were doing the same thing. We weren't like pioneers by any means, but they were doing the same thing. So teach them one thing this year.
Right.
Next year, have 2, then 3. So it's not overwhelming to their little bodies. They can understand it.
It's the same concept as walk before you run.
Yeah. If you're going to teach them how to play scales, don't try to teach them all 48 major minor scales in one sitting.
Chromatic and triplets.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this is a major scale. This is how it works. So what I try to get them to do is figure out what 2 or 3 things I would say that you want to do in your show, and make sure that you teach those in summer band before you get to them in the drill. You
Right.
need to know where they're going to be placed, and then teach that as move 1, move 2, move 3, and then when you get to set 28, you can say, okay, this is where move 2 happens. And they've been doing it a little bit every day since August 1st. And so then they go, oh, that's all we do?
And that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And I try to approach it as like in concert band. Um, I've had this happen, Derek, and you'll believe this, where I'll go like 2 weeks before contest to do a little clinic, and they'll say, hey, we've got all the notes learned. We just want to make this more musical. Maybe like start working on dynamics. And they were serious.
I do know that's true.
Yeah. And it's like, what? You're working on it. No, this all happens at the same time.
Right.
You don't work on dynamics the last 2 weeks. That blows every bit of tone, every bit of tuning, every bit of everything, distortion and sound.
Sure.
Everything you've done is thrown out the window then, because now the kids are worried about, I got to play soft. I've got to play
Right.
loud. So we've got to teach them that the whole time. So
And you have to
keep that in
teach.
mind.
That's not the right time to teach them that soft notes take fast air.
Yes, yes. So another kind of, before we get into the actual movements and so forth, the last thing to kind of throw out there is, in this age of great technology, give them lots of access to drum corps and marching bands that are doing lots of this, so they can see the impact of it and see that it's a important part of what we're doing at, I guess, what we would call the competitive level of today's world in corps
Right.
style bands.
Okay, I'm going to jump off for a second. I promise
Okay.
I'm going to get short. Our conversation we had before we got really reeled in today about how far DCI has gone with a lot of the movements and the effect and stuff. I almost think it's important to say, now, listen, I'm not going to make you do some of the things you're going to see, but just notice how it enhances the show.
Yes.
Because man, I'm telling you, there is so much body movement now. There were some times, and you can say I'm wrong if you want to. It's almost gone back to move, 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 stop and play 3 big chords. Move, 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 stop and play a little section. Move, 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 move. You know what I mean? That it almost seemed like the percussion was the continuity. And then when they would hit a set, they'd stop and play something really cool for a minute, and then they'd all start moving again. Or
Yes.
half of them would hide behind a prop in a certain section. A certain group of people would play. Let me get too far into it. But my point is, it's great to say this is how visual stuff can enhance what we're doing. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to wear tights and do whatever the right term is. Spins and everybody has to. You know what I mean? We're going to do some things, and look how much it helps.
Yes.
Is that wrong?
No, not at all. And the same way I used to listen to Maurice Andre on trumpet, but I'm never going to be Maurice Andre. And I listen to Maynard Ferguson. I've listened to Maynard Ferguson on trumpet, and I tried to copy him note for note on my old record player when I was a kid, and I was never going to be Maynard Ferguson, but I knew that that's what those guys were doing, and they were incredible trumpet players. So we can't be those drum corps,
but you got something to push towards. Yeah,
and that is what the future is, whether we like it or not. Sorry, guys.
I'm looking for clouds to scream at.
Yeah. Whether we like it or not, that's where it's going. So we've got to kiss the ring. We've got to kiss the ring, because if you're at area marching, there's 2 visual judges that half of their context is what are you doing choreo wise,
right?
And the other half is what are you doing as regular marching, and body posture. So we've got to somehow make that happen. So some really simple things you can do, and a real good tip is sometimes don't use the actual terms,
correct terminology,
because it'll freak them out to no end. They'll understand it better. They really will. So I think some things we've seen lots of bands do is a plie. I've heard a lot of directors just call it squat, which is a real brutal way of saying it, because there's a lot more to it than that, but the kids understand that. Sure. But a plie simply means bend. And I tell you what, if you've got some ballet or dance trained kids in your band, they will freak out when you go through this, because it has nothing to do exactly with what they do every day. A plie that a ballerina does is not a plie that the baritones do.
Exactly.
Okay,
You almost want to say, "Hey, ballerina, dumb it down."
yeah, I've done that. It's like, okay, these are 190-pound baritone players that play varsity football. This isn't Swan Lake. Come on,
Right.
So they okay. They just kind of smile and go, okay, we can make sure the silverback gorillas can do this as well as
That's funny.
The svelte, you know, the svelte flute players, you know. Yeah, the 95-pound flute players have a little bit easier time doing this body movement than the silver-backed low brass players.
Right.
And the trumpets just think they're God's gift no matter what, so it doesn't matter what they do. Okay, but some things to think about. It's a smooth, continuous bending of the knees and a bending of the knees outward by the student, and it has to follow a certain. And these are real easy tips to follow. One is there's different levels of plies. Don't do a grand plie where they're going like their butts almost to their heels, because they physically it's almost impossible for most young people to do that. Okay,
right. I get it.
So I just do it. This is a rule of thumb. First of all, when you start the plie, your toes must be apart.
Right.
Okay. A lot of us are toes together bands. So you've got to figure out a way. And it's not hard. When they stop, they're about to do a body movement, have them put their toes apart at least at a 45. I like a 90 myself. But then their toes follow the same line drawn by their knees follow the same line drawn by their toes.
You have to spread your feet, or you're not going to do a plie. I mean, you can't bend your knees.
You're otherwise you look like you're just sticking your knees out at the people in front of you.
Or
so
I tell them
gas. Yeah. I call that the camping squat. Okay. We go to second position and we do a grand plie, and then we do number 2. That's not what we're doing here. Okay, that's a camping squat. Okay, and they understood what a camping squat was. Sure. I think most of us have been there. Okay, or on the lake, you do the camping squat over the side of the boat. There's a whole story with my son that I'm not going to go into when he was 3.
Every ed rep knows what you're talking about.
Yeah. Sometimes things happen in life, but yeah, and then we make sure that the kneecap never goes beyond your big toe.
That's great, because that kind of gives you a visual of how far to go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a simple visual. And we can do that with heels together. And we can do that with second position, which is feet apart. Some people call it shoulder width. I'm not a big proponent of that, because shoulder width looks really different when you've got a 250-pound sousaphone player and an 80-pound flute player.
Agreed.
Who's 4'2". So I like to do it. Remember those old foot rulers that we had in elementary school? Those wooden ones.
I do.
Every kid can visualize that in their mind. I say visualize that on the ground and have that between your heels.
That makes sense.
And put your heels against either side of that 12-inch ruler. And then that way we'll all look uniform. And, we even had section leaders, very imaginative young people, that we had these old interval poles, PVC pipes. And they'd take a PVC pipe and they would like hot glue a ruler to the bottom of it, and they'd go around like a plunger. And the kids would adjust their feet. And it was actually brilliant, because the kids thought that was, the proper width, that they were too close or too far. Usually they go too far when I'm judging. I'm like, okay, guys, we're not Spider-Man. Okay.
Right.
Why
not sumo wrestlers?
Yeah. Right. Why are our feet 4 feet apart when we just need to be 12 inches apart with our heels? Right. But I think that's a really great rule for plies. And you can alter that as you need see fit. But if they can you can give them permission to look over their kneecap and look down their outside of their knee, and they should be straight over. If you drop down a carpenter's plum, is that what it's called? That little string with a little thing at the end that they plumb line. If you dropped a plumb line right there, it would go straight to the front of your big toe. No less, no more.
Right.
Okay. The other thing about a plie, this is the most common problem, is they've got to keep their back straight in relationship to their hips, because they'll bend over.
Right. And that's the awkward part to learn.
That's the awkward part. And I think a good story or a thing to tell them, I tell them you've got to be like toast in a toaster. Because if I put my toast in the toaster and push the little lever down, the toast goes straight down.
Right.
When it pops, the toast goes straight up. So pretend like the plie, the field and the plie is what we're dealing with. That's the toaster. You are the toast. So you've got to make sure your back stays straight all the way down and your back stays straight all the way up. And for some reason, it's kind of like keep your nose still and it keeps their upper body still. For some reason, that triggers 90% of the kids' brains where they're like, oh, instead of don't bend your back, they're like,
Right.
they'll be bent over and they'll literally look at you and go, but my back is straight. And you know what? They're actually correct. Their back is straight. It's just at a 20-degree angle. But they're not curving their spine. They're not doing anything awkward like that. They're just leaning forward. So, that's
it gives you a great mnemonic to scream as you're trying in progress. Stay in the toast or stay. That gives them something. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can just yell the word toast after they know it.
Yeah.
You're just on toast. And they're all like, oh, and all of a sudden everybody kind of adjusts their upper bodies, something to think about. And when you come up from a plie, it's called a releve. A releve just means lifted.
Right.
And so it's just to recover to the position of attention from a plie. And most of that going either into the plie or recovering from it is timing. I find that the best timing to do, and I just keep it the same all the time, especially if it's a brand new event, this choreo, 3 counts down, lock, 3 counts up, lock. Don't do it 2 counts down, 4 counts up, 6 counts down, 8 counts up. I mean, if you get into these top 12 drum corps and these really good BOA bands, throw out what I just said out the window because they're going to do it according to exactly what best fits the musical needs of the show, which is actually the best approach. But let's talk common sense here. We don't have time to teach 5 different plies.
I got it.
Teach one plie and use it 3 times in the show.
Especially if you're just starting this stuff.
Yeah. And then another one we see a lot, and we see it done incorrectly a lot, is a lunge.
Hey, before you go to the lunge, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Should we encourage people not to have it? I can visualize a little bounce at the bottom of a plie going back to the releve. Are we trying to make it smooth and then smooth back up as opposed to doing, kind of a bungee effect?
Yeah, I call it's not like a spring.
Yeah.
And I tell them it's like holding your breath. You don't hold your breath and then go all of a sudden when your lungs are full. You're holding your breath all the way down, then you're expelling air all the way up when we're practicing without equipment. Now, of course, when you're playing a horn, you can't do that.
No, but graceful and smooth is what I'm trying to say, as opposed to, almost like you're dropping it like it's hot.
Yeah. Now we're back to the camping squat. Sorry. I couldn't help myself. Mike Lunney's dark sense of humor. Okay.
All right. So lunges.
Yeah, lunges.
Lunge forward.
We see those a lot. And that when you're saying that brings up a really good point. Most body movements that go forward are not very well received by the audience.
Because they can't really see the depth of it, or
they can't see the depth of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like trying to conduct a 4/4 pattern, looking straight at somebody and just going up and down, or just pointing at them, doing that. It's the field of vision we're looking with. Not that it can't be done, but I would use that sparingly. Okay. So side to side is always better. So we see lots of lunges. It's any maneuver where one leg extends straight while the other is slightly bent at the knee. It can be to the back, to the front, to the side, or an angle. I like to do all my lunges for a beginner group of marchers that are incorporating choreo. Always do it to the side. And I like to always do it with the left foot to start, because that's not how we do. If you look at really quality groups do body movement, they almost always start with the right foot. I don't know if you've ever noticed that.
I have because
that's what dancers do. Dancers are right foot people. They always start with the right foot. And marching band sometimes is better. Everything just starts with the left foot. So I do the lunge with the left foot. It's always to the side. And it's always the same kind of idea with the knee over the toe, extended leg. The toe points directly to the ground. I like to do it where the toe that's lunging out points directly at the end zone. And that might cause me some emails, because I know that's hard to do, but there's no gray area. Right. It's not like is our foot at a 45? Is our foot at a 30? Our foot's pointed straight towards the end zone. It's perpendicular with the goal line, with every yard line. And that is kind of difficult to do at first, but it's almost easier to have the feet at 90 degrees, toe perpendicular to the sideline or perpendicular to the goal line when you're doing body movement, because they can see it.
Right.
And their geometry minds figured out quicker. Okay. Most common mistake oh my gosh, is lunging too far. We're back to Spider-Man. Um, it's they'll reach out there like they're about to shoot web up to the goalpost and swing on out of there, man. And it's like, what are you doing? How can you even play your horn? And then to get up out of that, think of the torque you have to put onto that foot that's lunged to push up to get your big old body moving back the other direction. Where
pop a hamstring or a quad trying to get back.
Yeah, you should be able to lunge with such a small degree of lunge that you can actually bring your foot back without having to adjust your upper body very much. It should be most of your weight is still on your right foot.
Right.
And there's going to be some push with the platform, yes, but it can't be like I'm trying to push a boat away from the dock. It can't be that kind of push. Okay. It's got to be a very gentle push. Okay. So to me, that's a lunge. And we can do all kinds of different variations, but keep it simple. Okay. Right. And with all of these, YouTube is our friend.
Give them a visual.
Yeah. For us as a director too, figure out what you want them to do. If you can get someone to help design your simple choreo for you, Echo Bruns, who's at Fredericksburg, she's been teaching like 6 years. She's the master of choreography, an amazing low brass teacher on top of that. But she keeps Mr. Hekamovich under control with the body movement. You know what I mean? She teaches the band all their body movement. And someone like that, toss a few bucks and give her your show and this, and say, hey, I need like 3 really nice body movements for the show. What would you do? Where would you put them? Send me video.
Right. And you get a consultant. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just put it up on the screen or drop it on Google Drive. And, kids are into this whole TikTok dance thing. I don't know, maybe that's going to the past now. I think kids are still on that TikTok dance thing craze where they just copy what's on TikTok. Kind of do your body movement the same way. Put it on Google Drive and tell them to just copy. You don't have to be too extraordinary.
Sure.
Kids are pretty smart. They'll copy it, and then you can kind of correct things, okay? But that would be more my idea of a lunge. Just keep it really simple. Really simple, okay? The next one is really fancy sounding, an arabesque. Right. Something you'd order like at an Arabian food restaurant or something. Okay. The position of the body is supported on one leg while the other leg's extended behind the body with the knees straight. And it's executed with the front leg in a tendu. And a tendu is just a toe point. A lot of times we say point and close. The platform hits first. But an arabesque is really cool to do like in a four count thing where you put the foot back and push it back, hold for 4, then let the heel come down for 4 as the instrument comes up. Nice little dynamic swell in the ballad, something like that. I think it's very appropriate and very easy to do because in this, remember I talked about, frontwards to backwards not being as visually appropriate.
Sure.
But this works great because if they make mistakes, no one sees them either.
So I'm going to make sure I'm understanding here. We're talking front leg stays straight, not locked, but straight. Back leg doesn't really elevate. It just points back.
Yeah, it's almost like taking one step backwards and staying on your platform while raising your left foot's heel just a little bit. And it's a real cool stance. And half your weight's on left foot, half a left platform, half your weight's on right platform. And then as you let your right heel go down, then your weight transfers to your right heel. And that makes your upper body kind of lean back. And
right.
You can just add a little tiny horn move and let the horn come up about 20 degrees. And it's such a cool effect if you add a little color guard, big giant move with a big silk, or, maybe have some rifles that can throw a 6 like the Crusaders, Now,
Come back to us, Mike.
Yeah, that's right. Or maybe they can just do it and not fall over. So the goal is to do body move without falling over.
Everybody stay upright, please.
Yeah, just everybody stay vertical and no one horizontal on the field, please. Everyone stay vertical. And so that's kind of our idea of an arabesque. And so a lot of times I would just call it a backwards lean. Because you say arabesque and they go, oh, I didn't bring my translator dictionary on my phone for you, sir.
Yeah, I had that completely wrong because I was picturing the extended leg going backwards instead of leaning backwards. So you're saying that the
extended leg does go backwards.
Okay. I'm going to have to look this up on YouTube.
Yeah, you're stepping back. It's harder to show because with our constraints of how we do our studio and stuff. I mean, it's but you can find it really pretty easy. But it's one of those pictures worth 1,000 words. I mean, even in my 62-year-old body, I can do a pretty good arabesque and a plie and a lunge.
Okay. So
and so I can show them. I can't do it over and over again.
I'm trying to get sideways. I was picturing that my front leg stayed straight and the back leg would just extend, almost like I've seen ballerinas do it, but you're saying the back leg goes out. You don't tendu. You leave it flat so you can lean onto it.
No, you do tendu, and both legs are straight. Then it goes back. That's part of the move. Okay.
So you almost rock onto your heel.
Yes, and that would be a full blown adding that recovery to it. You can do a tendu, you can do an arabesque, and not have to go back on your right heel.
Okay.
They could be doing a follow the leader towards the end zone, and they could all of a sudden stop and do an arabesque with their foot behind them, and then step back off.
Right. And I thought your description that you were talking about extending that back in tendu and then bringing it back to under you. I get what you're saying now. Is all I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I'm slow.
Hey, you're our freshman guinea pig. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. And sometimes it's how I explain it, because if we talk about it with the directors beforehand, either I'll show or the director will show, or we'll find a really athletic student to show how to do it. And that's better than me talking for 20 minutes.
No, but it just proves the point. If you can get one of your kids that does it well and film them.
Oh, yeah.
And then put it out there and say, everybody go watch how so-and-so does it. That's how we're doing it.
Yeah. And the next one is a coupe. And again, there's like, I don't know how many I've got listed here. I didn't even count them. But, just do 2 or 3. First year, even if you just do 2.
Don't overdo it. Right.
If you just do 1, I'll be excited. Okay. At least as a judge, I can sit there and go, hey, nice choreography. I like the fact you added that to the ballad. Very, very well done. Thank you. Whatever you do, make sure it's done well. Don't try to do everything. And you'll get points for it. And you've taken the dive. Okay. A coupe is, I like to do them from first position, turn in, that's heels and toes together. Okay.
Got it.
So this doesn't start with toes out. A bend at the knee at a 45-degree angle so that the heel lifts up off the ground. And so the toe can face down, and the coupe, I like to do it with the knee pointing towards the end zone. So they kind of turn their foot, and you just see that bend, that little angular bend of their leg with their heels up. And they can do it with their feet basically together for like a little pop. Or the one we see a lot, and nothing wrong with it, but we do see it a lot. They'll do it second position by putting their left toe out in a tendu, then lift their heel, and then they'll kind of pop their heel back and forth. You know what I'm talking about?
I do, yeah.
Little kick. And that's a second position coupe with recovery. So again, if you understand what I'm talking about, just have a kid do it or you do it. And in fact, if the director does it, that's even better sometimes. Even if we don't do it well, it's sometimes
he
better.
Can do it.
Yeah, if old man Lunney can do it, God, I think anybody can. Anybody can do it. Even Jim Bob back in the tuba section can do this one. Great. But yeah, you can extend that to second position, and that helps out a lot. And then a real simple one, because we've talked about this a lot.
So in second position, that would be the little deuce coupe.
No. Let's quit going back to that.
I was doing a Beach Boys song. You went the other way.
Yeah, there's only one deuce I know about. There's only one deuce in my life.
Quickly, tendu.
So our next item is going to be a tendu. It's just the foot out, platform down, brush back to first position. You can do that to the side, to the front. Just make sure when the platform is on the ground, that the foot with the platform on the ground, that the leg is straight. Shouldn't be any bend to that particular leg.
Right, makes sense.
And that's one we can do in those strength exercises by not letting the platform touch. I would never do that in a show. But it builds up that balance and that strength that way. Okay. So we won't spend a lot of time on that. I think we're all pretty familiar.
That reminds me of what you picture when you see a ballerina or a dancer on bar. The exercises they do with their leg, they go forward, they go side. It's kind of a tendu, right?
Yes. Okay. Exactly. Okay. And the next one is a fancy name. It's a rondejam. And don't ever tell that to a ballerina, because they will slap you. Okay. Because once they see what we're doing, they'll go, Mr. Lunney, that is not.
You are wrong.
You are wrong. And I'll say, yes, you are correct. I'm wrong, but this is what we're doing. They go,
roll with it.
They roll their eyes and they go about their business. A lot of times I just call it toe circles.
Yep.
The kids understand the word toe circles. You execute a tendu to the front of you. I like to do it with the left foot to start with. Just same old principle. Bands tend to be left foot friendly. Okay, execute a tendu in front of you, and then what they do is they simply draw a half circle with their platform of the toe that's sticking out in front of them around their body in like 4 counts. So it's draw, 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 draw. And finally, guess what they're in at the end? They're in an arabesque, aren't they?
Arabesque, right.
Yeah. So then once they get into that arabesque, you can either have the foot come back forward, or you can complete the arabesque thing where the heel goes down for 4. Then we brush the foot forward in 4, and it gives you a nice 12 count move that you can do in a ballad. And it's a very cool, graceful movement. And I like it because it doesn't involve a lot of the upper body. And so kids can kind of adapt to it pretty quickly. Even though it sounds more complicated, they'll adapt to that more quickly than they will a coupe or a lunge or even a plie.
Okay. A dumb trumpet question, or Derek question, maybe. It's not all trumpet. But when you go forward in your tendu, your toe's pointing forward. As you create the circle, does your toe stay pointed out around the circle?
Yes.
And then you have to twist it at the end to bring it back to first. But
yeah. And then it's just kind of gracefully move your foot out. And as it goes through that last half of the semicircle, then it kind of adjusts itself. But I like to think of it as like, it's just, if there was a Sharpie ink on the bottom of my platform, I'm just drawing a circle with my platform.
Got it.
And your foot will follow.
Right.
It'll
kind of has to.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not something you have to explain too much. Just tell them, just pretend like you're drawing a circle with your toe, and their heel will do what it's supposed to do. But I find that's really very musically appropriate, especially in a ballad. It's not really good for a really fast move. Rely on those coupes and that heel pop and maybe some horn visual type things for that. Okay.
Got it.
YouTube, again, is our friend. Band web pages, tons of videos to steal. A lot of bands post things on YouTube for their freshmen to learn from, and they're not protected because there's nothing proprietary.
Sure. I got it.
And so they have a staff member doing it. But yeah, if you just search those out and put in the right search words, body movement, choreography, marching band, YouTube on the YouTube search, it'll bring you up all kinds of stuff. And you can copy and paste those particular videos. Anytime I used a video from another school, I always did out of courtesy, ask permission.
Sure.
I'd kind of either post a comment on there, or I kind of probably knew the director somehow, and I'd say, is it okay if I use some of your videos? And I never was turned down once. No one said, no, do it yourself. They were always kind of flattered that someone else was watching what they were doing. But that's a really good way to do it. Whatever 2 or 3 body movements you're going to incorporate, put on Google Drive with someone doing them, and let the kids look at them or post them to YouTube or whatever works for you. Okay?
Sure. I think the point is there is an example out there. You just got to go find it.
Yeah, we're not in this all by ourselves.
Right.
Okay. Some vocabulary the kids need to know. First position in is heels and toes together. First position is like heels together. In is toes together. So first position in is heels and toes together. That's a good vocabulary word to teach our term. First position out is heels together and toes out to establish whatever angle you want. A lot of bands do 45. I'm a big proponent of a 90 degree, which directors will push back respectfully and say, that seems really big. But I think kids can visualize it easier.
Right. It's everywhere. It's in nature. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's in the tiles of their band hall floor. It's in the corner of a room. They visualize that better than 45 degrees. Second position is diversion of first position with our feet apart, the 12-inch ruler thing. And then you can go into third position, fourth position, fifth position. I've done that with bands. Don't do it.
You recommend not to?
Unless they're at a 95% achievement rate of everything you've already done with your 3 body movements, don't worry about it. I don't know if Phantom still does it, but their position of attention is left heel inside the right foot arch.
Right.
That's third position.
That's a ballet thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a third position. So they've made that's their position of attention when they're actually marching. Now their show was beautiful this year, but I don't think there was one third position in it. Yeah. So it was a beautiful show. But yeah, but I would not go into third, fourth, and fifth position because it's not worth the trouble unless your band is just achieving at a high level and you've got the full 8 hours a week to work. Okay.
Right. Right.
But the rest of us, just don't worry about it.
But you
With
know
the,
what? I'd really be interested to hear from some other people that have done a lot of this first business second. How do you teach that? How do you share that with your kids? Not that, Mike, we're all here to learn, right?
yeah,
So I would love some feedback on some of that from if we happen to have some of those people that say, hey, my group does that really well. Here's how we do it.
that'd be awesome.
Yep. Share. We're
Yeah.
all in this together.
And everything I'm talking about, I did not come up with any of this. I watched other bands learning it.
Right. And I think that's the secret ingredient.
Yeah, just go watch somebody.
Be observant. Find somebody you respect and go watch what they do.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of looking at it. Cool. And again, find a student in your band if you have one that's in dance, or maybe they're a cheerleader, or simply just loves doing that sort of thing. I mean, I had a tuba player one year that was really into, they were always, if music started playing, they were dancing in the band hall. You know what I'm talking about? Just a cool kid. Yeah. And so they were just into that, man. They could, whatever the newest dance move was, they would do it. And so it doesn't have to be a cheerleader or a dancer. It can just be that really kind of goofy kid that just loves copying dance moves. Whatever's the more current and relevant you can make it to the kids, and maybe even break away from this kind of ballet kind of approach. I think maybe the kids will get a little more excited.
Right.
Because
it's funny how everything new is not really new. There's nothing new under the sun. We've just kind of taken it and adapted it, or found a new way to express it.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah. And there's embodied movement. If you've got time to do it, it can be a really cool thing for your show. There's a school in far west Texas that won their BOA classification a few years back, and they did a show where all the kids were frogs.
What?
Okay. And so they had Shako covers that were the frog ears, and they had power tops, which is like the frog bodies. And all their body movement was simulating the movements of frogs in a swamp.
Right.
And it was absolutely amazing. And the music was like music of Antonin Dvorak and Mussorgsky. And it was the frogs in the swamp when during the sunlight, and when what happens at night when all the props turned and it was darkness and they're in the swamp. And it's I know this sounds like this is out there, man, like I need therapy, but it was the coolest thing that I think I've ever seen in my life. So all their body movement was based on the study of how frogs move, and so all their movement in choreo was frog movements.
That seems like a really difficult movement to play and still play.
Very rarely did they play and do all that. It was kind of the old, let's get to our position, let's do this. And yeah, it was really a cool show. It was and when they won their classification, I guess Class A at the San Antonio Super Regional, and when they came out on the field, because the band that wins, they're not being scored that night, but they get a chance to march at finals. Right. With the big boys. And when they got on the field, the whole crowd was chanting, frog band, frog band, frog band, frog band. And they only had like 45, 46 kids in the band, but they won the Class A Super Regional Championship, with those kids. Awesome. Other bands had 300 in them winning the big boy championship. Sure. But they really enjoyed the frog band. Okay. So you can do with it what you want. It's fun. At first, the kids are going to feel like it's weird because it's different. Right. We're all that way. I mean, first time I went to go eat sushi, which I still hate sushi. First time I ate sushi, it was very awkward, and I had no idea what I was doing, and I didn't want to put that fish bait in my mouth. And some people love it. So I think the more I understood, and the more my son and daughter-in-law said, no, try this. This is more like what you would like, and it's like, now I have an appreciation for sushi, which at first I was like, I don't want to eat raw fish. And I think body movement's kind of that way. It's almost
like it's learning to use chopsticks.
Yeah, it's an acquired taste. It's an acquired thing that you learn,
I
I
hate
don't know.
people watching me try to use chopsticks. But
Yeah.
anyway, I think this has been such a great series, Mike. I just want to tell you that number one, thanks for taking the time to accumulate and assimilate and put this in some kind of an order that makes sense for everybody. I want to remind everybody, and I'm sure Rick will put it up because Rick always takes care of us. You can download this stuff.
Yeah.
This is on a website available to you if you want to download for a refresher. Go back and watch them. It's a lot of information. What did we take 8 different episodes to do this?
Yeah.
So, but man, thanks. And I know that
Yeah.
you're fixing to hit the road at the time of the year as we record this. You'll be going out to actually observe and help bands with a lot of this stuff. Um, Feel free to reach out to Mike if he can't make it by. He knows people. He'll help you find somebody to come help.
Yeah.
But come on, guys, let's have a fantastic marching season. Let's.
Hey, and Derek, before you completely shut it down, can I give
I'm going to let you finish up? Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Are you finished? I didn't mean to interrupt. You were on a roll, man. I was like, man, this guy's going. But a little lesson by Steve Jobs of Apple fame. You must have passion to achieve what we're doing in all 8 of these episodes, because when it gets really hard, any rational person would give up. Those are the words of Steve Jobs. You have to do it over a sustained period of time. If you don't live it, you will give up. So this isn't something you're going to go out and do. Let's do this exercise one time. No, well, we did that. Okay, the roof is fixed. We put a shingle on there. Okay, we're done. So it's a sustained period of time. It doesn't have to be a lot of time every day. Stick to it, guys. And your visual tone quality will win you contests, and the kids will feel confident. And with that being said, I turn it back over to my brother, Derek.
No, but tell me I'm lying. The first time they do it and get a crowd reaction, they suddenly go, "That's why."
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's funny I wait for it, to see their eyeballs when all of a sudden the crowd just goes berserk and they go, "That stupid little body move had that kind of reaction."
Right. That's why we worked that hard.
They had no idea. They had no idea.
Cool. All right. Well, I wish everybody great success. Find something you love and do it well. So, man, can't wait to see where we go next. Hope you have a fantastic week. Don't know if you're going out to preach the gospel this week or if you're just building up, getting ready for it. But
now doing some Holiday ISD and some Fredericksburg ISD.
Awesome. Well, be safe and we'll see you again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Derek.